The U.S. Abraham Lincoln aircraft carriers and its strike group have arrived in the Middle East. This coincides with President Trump publicly mulling military action in the region due to civil unrest inside Iran. The commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps warned against the move, saying that his forces have their, quote, fingers on the trigger, unquote. CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd joins me now. Sam, always good to have you here. It was discussed about a week ago when the president was contemplating military action that the Israelis sent a signal, don't go yet because you don't have all the things you need in the region. Now it appears we have the things we need in the region. What does that suggest?
Well, these military assets could serve two purposes. In the first instance, they could try to deter the Iranian regime from doing more bad things like violence against protesters and other forms of brutal repression. They could protect U.S. forces if Iran does choose to retaliate after a strike, and they could actually launch a strike against the regime. The Trump administration is playing a lot of different hands here. It's moving its military assets into place. Trump is signaling the door is open to negotiations. There may be covert negotiations underway anyway, and importantly, Major, they're also likely ensuring the safety and security of Americans currently in the region. We saw that Qatar had recommended that U.S. forces draw down at the Al Udeid base. But Iran still has a very advanced intelligence service, cyber capabilities, and it still does have proxy capability in the region, and that puts American lives at risk if the U.S. strikes and Iran strikes back.
I have read, Sam, that it is somewhat problematic for U.S. military strikes in Iran designed to help protesters because unless you dislodge the regime, you might kill protesters inadvertently because you have to attack areas that are not isolated like the nuclear facilities, places that are embedded in high-density population areas within Iran, and the regime might double down on the protesters and its refusal to bend to the great Satan, the rhetoric long used in Iran to refer to the United States.
The U.S. administration has had military operational plans, O-plans, for various things against the regime for a long time.
Decades.
Various parts of the U.S. government have been designing and practicing for the range of scenarios here for a very long time. But you raise an important question. What is the purpose of another U.S. strike? We have seen the Trump administration strike to stop Iran's support for terrorism. We have seen the Trump administration strike to curtail Iran's nuclear program. So what ultimately is the purpose of another strike? Is it to dislodge the regime? If that is the case, a military strike may not be the best option. Covert action, some other form of operation may be better suited to targeted attacks to take out the top tier of the Iranian regime. So I would imagine those O-plans, those operational plans for military strikes, covert action, and more are being actively refreshed.
And there's conversations, President Trump posted something even today about the future leadership of Iraq. There are lots of destabilizing things going on in Syria. The conversations between the president and the new leader of Syria continue, but that doesn't seem all the way stabilized. These things play into all these calculations, do they not?
They sure do, but Iran does hold a special place for the Trump administration and for American national security. Iran is the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism. Iran has continued its march towards a nuclear weapon until the recent strike, and the regime just murdered thousands of people. And so the reasons for striking Iran are certainly there. There are other options as well. At the same time, Iran is facing this pressure internally. It's facing external pressure, Major. It has been degraded in terms of its proxy capabilities in places like Iraq, in places like Syria, in places like Lebanon. So the regime certainly feels cornered, and that leads really to a difficult situation for all actors involved.
Tough question to answer, but I ask it anyway. What should we look for in the next 3 days?
We should look for the military assets actually moving into position and firing range. They are currently in the CENTCOM area of responsibility. They're making their way to their desired destination. And what we should really look for is a U.S. government warning citizens to leave, moving embassy and other military personnel out of the region, airlines canceling flights, another notice to airmen that private aircraft should not fly over parts of the Middle East. Those are, to me, trigger points that something is coming.
Sam Vinograd, great stuff as always. Thank you so very much.
Has has renewed his threats against Iran, demanding that it enter nuclear talks, or face a potential attack. The US president posted online overnight saying that time is running out. It is truly of the essence. As I told Iran once before, make a deal. They didn't, and there was Operation Midnight Hammer, a major destruction of Iran. The next attack will be far worse. Don't make that happen again. Now, Midnight Hammer occurred in June last year. It came after Israel's 12-day war with Iran. It involved those bunker-busting bombs and Tomahawk missiles that targeted Iran's nuclear facility. Now, the president says that he is open to negotiations. He's hoping that Iran will come to the table. The Iranian mission to the United Nations has responded with its own social media post saying that it is ready for dialogue based on mutual respect and interests, but then added, if pushed, Iran would defend itself and respond like never before. So both parties saying there that they are open to negotiations, but then throwing out these threats. So really it is unclear where this stands at the moment, guys.
The Middle East is on edge over potential American strikes against Iran this morning, but Saudi Arabia, a key American ally, reportedly told Tehran it won't let its airspace or territory be used for an attack. The United States has an aircraft carrier and supporting warships in that region now, right there in the Indian Ocean. President Trump says it gives him options. International correspondent Robert Sherman with the details.
The president says his phone lines are open, but if Tehran does not give him a call, he now has the pieces in place in order to make a move.
And in June, we obliterated Iran's nuclear capacity in Operation Midnight Hammer. You saw that. People have been waiting for 22 years to do that, and we were right at the end. They were about a month away from having a nuclear weapon. We had to do it. And by the way, there's another beautiful armada floating beautifully toward Iran right now. So we'll see. I hope they make a deal.
The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group now in the Indian Ocean under the Central Command Region of Responsibility, which oversees the entirety of the Middle East, with Central Command posting these photos showing these troops going through what they describe as readiness drills in case the situation does ultimately deteriorate in Iran. Tehran's public tone, however, defiant. Their foreign ministry spokesperson saying, quote, the arrival of a certain warship is not going to shake Iran's will or determination to defend the country with full force. We have both the will and the full capability to defend Iran. In Beirut, there are demonstrations taking place led by the head of Hezbollah as Iran's proxies vow to stand by the regime.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and down.